Men waste years of their lives and thousands of dollars chasing after this one particular kind of girl. And that is the girl that, in her heart of hearts, knows she's not interested in you. And this comes down to the men not picking up the signs that are there, or even ignoring the signs when they turn up. And I was guilty of this. In each of the examples that I'm going to lay out for you coming up, it's one from my own life. It's ones where I was in pursuit of that girl and I was blinded by the fact that I wanted something to happen with her. I was excited and I was really hoping that I could turn this into a relationship. So I ignored all these signs that were cropping up. And when I look back, I just regret not moving on and not moving on to someone new, because it was such a waste of time and effort. And too many men fall into this trap of just leaving years and so much effort on the table pursuing these girls, when there are girls out there that would love to be with you, and girls that are even potentially more attractive than her. Because I've seen this. I've seen it time and time again, where for some reason my younger self, he got caught up about this one girl. Maybe he worked with her, or maybe it was someone in the friendship group, and it was getting caught up that this one girl, she was going to be the one. 6 months later, obviously she's not the one, and then I've sort of met someone new, and it's amazing, and I'm having such a great time with her. And I've started to forget all that obsession with the previous girl. So, here are 4 signs that are going to be glaring and obvious that really, she isn't really interested in having a future with you. Okay, so first and foremost, if she cancels plans and doesn't rearrange an alternative. I put the caveat at the end because life happens. Sometimes people cancel plans. And if, say, you had a date together that it's just starting to form into this relationship, and maybe you've got a date set up, and then on the day she cancels, if she doesn't then be like, oh, but I can do this day, can you do that? This is a bit of a clear sign she's not interested. And I've seen this play out with myself, that there was a girl that I was really interested in dating whilst I was living in Bulgaria. And she had a very busy life. Like, she was a model, she was gymnast and all these things. And I really wanted to try and have a relationship there. And whenever I arranged plans, it was almost like 50-50 if she would turn up to them or not. And all that did was play out this scenario where I was just chasing after her and then thinking that, oh, if I crafted the right text, then maybe she would come out. Even if she does. So this, I've got 2 examples of this. One is from the book Models by Mark Manson, which is just the best book on dating. And he speaks to the fact that he was in London, and he's an American. He was in London and he met this girl on a night out, and they connected and they vibed. And the next day they were planning to go on a date. So he sends a text to check in, standard procedure of like, oh, are you up for tonight, etc., etc. And she says she can't. She thinks she's working late and she's just not going to be able to make it. So what he does is decide, he's a dating coach. He's going to use a bit of game. And he says like, oh, what are you going to regret more? That you didn't work more? What are you going to regret more when you're like 80 years old? That you didn't work more? Or that you didn't meet that American guy that you had such a good time with? And you know what? She ended up texting back like, yeah, let's go on this date. I'm up for it. So you would think it works. You would think you can manage to talk your way out of this. But 2 hours later, she texted him back to say that whilst she did like him, because he lived somewhere else, it simply wasn't going to happen. So the thing is, if you get that signal, those cancellations, that stepping off and not turning up to meetings, even if you do what I did, where I'd managed to get this girl to turn up on a date that after cancelling 2, she turns up on the 3rd. Well, she still skipped the fourth and the fifth attempt. Their intention is clear by the fact they skipped the date or they skipped the arrangement and then didn't really try to make things happen with you. Since this time, I don't fall into this trap, and I introduced a rule. If you're the one to cancel a date, the onus is always on you to rearrange it. So always look for this with girls that you're interacting with. If they cancel, it's on them to rearrange, and you are not meant to convince them to come, because even if you do, it still won't work out in the long term. Okay. Secondly, she blocks investment from you. So I saw this, and I'm going to go all the way back to when I was younger, and I would be walking home from school with the girl that I really liked, and she'd say she's cold and complain, and I'd offer up my jacket of, do you want to wear this, you're cold, etc. And she'd always reject it. But then a week later, we'd be walking back with another guy that was cooler than I was. She'd say it, he'd offer the jacket, and she'd put it on immediately. And I'm like, okay, well, what's going on here? Has he just got a cooler jacket than mine? But what it was she just wasn't interested in me in that way. And wearing items of my clothing was like investment by me and her. It was like signaling that attachment. And because of this, she kind of blocked it. And she didn't want to have that sort of sense about us. And girls will do this in multiple ways, that maybe you get to the end of the date and she's hyper adamant that you're not paying for anything for her. Well, that's an indication that she isn't comfortable with you investing in her. She doesn't want to feel like she's indebted to you in any way. And some girls do just want to pay for themselves. This isn't like 100% certainty, but it's a signal that maybe she's unsure. Because even with the girl that I started dating recently, we'd met for about 10 minutes and then we went to go on an instant date and we just got peppermint teas and I just paid for hers and she was fine with that. I think it's because she was fine with the idea of me investing in her and being engaged with her. So always look out for these like blocks in investment when you try and make moves with a girl. Okay, thirdly, touch. How responsive or even just unresponsive is she to your touch? Another example I have of this is I went on a date with a girl. I thought things were going kind of well. And then when we left to go from one bar to another, I sort of held my hand out for her to grab it. And she sort of did, but she was kind of reluctant. And then about 50 meters down the road, she had like a reason to take her hand away. And I thought maybe she's just, she's shy, she doesn't like PDA or holding hands with people. It was fine. An hour later, we start to get to the end of the date, and I realise she's probably not interested in going out again. So this was an early sign that maybe this girl just wasn't that interested in me. Because for a girl, their skin is super sensitive and they're really responsive to touch, and the thought of someone touching them that they don't want to, it's really invasive and they find it almost disgusting. So a really clear indication, it can even be those kind of micro touches of when you're sat next to each other and your sort of knees slightly touch, does she pull hers away or does she allow it to lean into yours briefly? That's all the little details that you can pick up on to feel how invested and how interested is she. That once again, like, yeah, you might find a really shy girl that isn't into this, but it's still a good indicator to look. How responsive are they to when you go to escalate with touch? Okay. Finally, number 4. They're never willing to sacrifice for you. So this is what I saw again with the girl that I dated, that she was the gymnast and model and all these things. She had so many things going on, and I'm like, fair play, that's cool, do all those things. I think it was the night before I was leaving Bulgaria, and I knew I wasn't going to be back for a few months, and we'd sort of arranged to meet, and then she bailed on it because she had to do her second training session of the day, and it was just a run on a treadmill. And I was like, okay, cool, I don't want you to compromise who you are and everything you do, but like, realistically here, I'm going away for a while and you can't skip a run on a treadmill or even just push it back or do it earlier. And she was just unwilling to really compromise in any opportunity to meet. And I should have just seen that as a clear signal for what it was. Because contrast that with another girl that I started dating where it's like, we're really bad at going to sleep early. That when we're together, we just have a good time and we just end up staying up really late. And it has an impact because then our body clocks are messed up. And she was travelling back down to the south of England the next day. And we would arranged to meet, but we said we weren't going to sort of sleep over because that always happens. But then she just asked me to anyway. And that was just her giving a clear indication that she knew that this was going to be a sacrifice. It was probably going to come with a cost because we were going to stay up late. But she was willing to do that and make that sacrifice anyway. Girls that are just not willing to compromise in any manner show a lack of interest in you. So those 4 are my key signs to look for when deciding, are you investing your time in something worthwhile, or are they just wasting your time? And the way that I say that they're wasting your money is because so many of the douchey dating guru types out there, especially the faceless ones on Twitter, are all about this, like, increase your texting game, turn around that girl, win your ex back, get out of the friend zone, and all these kind of things, where it's all about trying to convince a girl that isn't interested to be interested, which is always an awful method of approach. My approach, and one that I took from Mark Manson again, is it's fuck yes or no. Because that's what you want. You want a girl to be like, when you ask her out on a date, she's like, yeah, let's do it. Fuck yeah, let's go for it. And you're both engaged with each other and moving in that manner. As soon as you have to be that guy that's, maybe trying to convince her to come out with you, it just leaves you feeling weak and rejected when there are plenty of girls out there that want to go on a date with you. So, if you don't want to waste a ton of time in the most common way that guys waste time, and for me, I've seen that to be texting. Guys will waste hours and hours texting girls over and over again. Well, I've got a video where I've got the actual screenshots between me and girls that I've dated, and I break down how to text girls in a manner that gets you results and is significantly more attractive. So check out that video here and save yourself so much time and start to have amazing connections and amazing dates.